Hey everyone, it's Denise here. I just wanted to come on for Christina and give you a quick little thing about Magicals because she's got two little kids and I just have two cats, and it's easier to lock two cats out of somewhere than two kids. Trust me on that, and I think most of you know that. So since I used them in a class and I've been the one to really play with them, I think more than anybody else, I thought I'd just show you what they were like. Now, I'm hoping that this goes to the Facebook page, but if it's too big or we can't, then it's going to go to the YouTube, and we're going to put a link there so that you can see these. These are the 5 sets that I have, and they come in sets. You can get single jars, but the sets are just more economical. You just get more for your money with it. The jars are the same size, but for the price of the jar, you might as well get the extra 5th one. So that said, they do come in 2 different ways that I've noticed. One is they call it flat, which is this one on the end here, which is called Mad Hatter. The rest are shimmer. And the shimmer ones are just what they say. They're shimmery, right? They have a little sparkle to them. And it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for, I guess, as to what you want to do. Now, these are sort of like the Nuvo shimmer drops, in that they are shimmery and that they are powders and that you do add water to them. But these are unlike anything else that I've tried, because if you see a color here, let's just take, for example, this pink one here, or any of these really, right? Any of those colors. So this Tibetan poppy teal looks like it should be teal, right? If you look closely, it'll have some green in it though. Same with the autumn crimson, this ponderosa pine down here. You should see that it looks a little variegated in its color. The thing with these is that it's got several colors in it. So it may look like pink, but it really is not true to color to the label. So I wanted to show you these, and I think that's what makes them magical, to be honest. So I have some watercolor paper here, because while they do work on any paper, I just kind of like working with them on watercolor paper, because you're going to have to spritz them with water. The more water you give them will make a different effect. Now you see I have protective stuff here, and the powder, a little goes a long way. So let me start with one of my favorites here. I haven't actually used the Victorian bouquet yet. I'm going to leave that to the side for right now. But I did use these. Now this one is called Summer Break. And you can see, hopefully it's not too blurry, you can see from the tops of the jars which color they are. But I do hope that when I open them that you'll notice the difference. So I'm going to try to lower this. Again, hopefully not too blurry. Sorry, because that's below where I can see. So you should see the cap. But notice it's not the same color. Can you see that this is a little bit, it looks like a leaf green, whereas this looks more teal. So that's why I say they're not necessarily true to color. You can use anything for this. A little goes a long way. This is one of my good watercolor brushes, so I probably shouldn't use it, but it also cleans off very easily out of brushes. So all you do is take a little, do you see how little I have on there, right? You can hardly see it, I'm guessing. I have very little on there, and I'm just going to tap. And you may be able to see the shimmer fall. You may not. If I want to put a little more, again, I'm just dipping, and I just have so little on my brush. I'm going to tap. Because I like the colors blended, I can also go like this. I can do in a circular motion here and there. But I just want to show you with this particular one. And this one is called Dipito Teal. Okay, so you would think it would be a teal, right? It doesn't look like teal in here. You always want to cover the jar or move it way out of the way once you get that water going though, because you don't want to ruin your jar. So how close and how far away will depend on the look. I'm just going to go close because of the camera. So you can see that it's turning teal, right? I'm going to move my paper back, I guess. But I think what you're missing, probably seeing as I spray it, there was a little bit of pink. There's some yellow in there. You can pick it up and you can move it around to get it going. Now, again, this is with a lot of water, but with just that little bit, I don't think you can probably see the shimmer, but it's so shimmery. You see how there's yellow here? I don't know if you can, I'm sorry. The darker blue, the lighter blue. the more water I give, and remember, that was just such a little bit, I can just move this around. And because I used watercolor paper, I can just let it sit. I can dab it. And I should have gotten paper towels, actually. I can dab it, heat set it, and then do it again. I can still add more to this while it's wet, though. It's going to give me a little different look. Now, again, the paper is bending up, but it is watercolor. But now watch when I put, again, just a real little bit. Watch when I put it in the water. See the flecks? You see how that changes? Now, I can add more water to this. Or I can just let it go where it wants. I can just leave it like this. I can add that little design to it without actually changing anything. I can heat set it like this, or I can just leave it dry. How long it takes to dry obviously depends on how much water you put, how thick your paper is, all of those regular things. So we went from something that looked kind of washed out, right? To now something with all of these different colors and things. But again, if I pick this up to move it around, I'm gonna get that color to move. But again, I did a lot of water just so you could see. All right, so that's kind of the basics. I'm gonna hold it up. I don't know, because of the lighting, if you can see the shimmer. I'm gonna try to move it around. I wish I could see the screen. So I hope that you can see the shimmer. I'm just gonna put that to the side. I'm gonna grab another piece of paper, and I'm gonna grab a couple of other colors now. So again, remember, now it does, I'm gonna move this back just for a second. It does kind of look like the cover, but the cover is definitely more green than this looks. And yet it looks yellowish, very light green in the jar. So again, that's why I say it takes a little bit of time to get used to them. But I think one of the fun parts is that you never really know what you're going to get. So let's stick with this, and let's do 3. Right? So these are still from the summer. This is the, now again, the pink kind of looks the same. The yellow looks the same, but it does look a little more orange. I know that you probably can't see that too well. It looks a little more orange. The purple actually looks a little more blue. All I really have to do is tap that off. I'm gonna do, again, on camera, the slightest little bit. This time I'm gonna just go like this. And I'm just gonna do that. And you can do that right on your tablecloth. And again, I'm sorry, I'm off camera. The slightest little bit, just on my edges. I'm just gonna tap that around. Do it on my tablecloth. Slightest little bit. And this is a full, what is this, a 5x7 sheet of paper? I thought it would tell me on here. 5.5 by 8.5. Now again, if you want your color to be deeper, then you add more. So maybe because the last one was light, I'll just add a little more of the colors in here. See, that's a lot of that color. You really don't need a lot. These jars last a very long time. I've been working out of these jars here that I've been showing you since July. And I've made scrapbook pages with them. You know, I use them to cut out circles and as embellishments. Again, always close these or put them out of the way from the water. We've cut titles out of them on the Cricut on watercolor paper after they're dry. I've done die cuts for cards on them. So there's lots of different ways to use them. So it looks just kind of like a, maybe this is in the way. Yeah, that helps. It's a reason I don't teach media too, I guess. So it looks just kind of like a powdery mess, right? Now, did you see how it blew off? So sometimes the closer, the better. Now you can drip your water. Again, I'm just showing you this just so you can see, but you see how it's different with a little bit of water. You get more spotted, and with a lot of water, you get more watercolory. Now again, I've overlapped green and, green, yellow, and purple. So I basically have mud, but I can fix that. I can go on in with any of the other colors. You know what? I'm going to go in with a little of this beach ball blue. Again, they don't really look the same. This is already wet. I'm just going to spot some in there. Look how deep that blue looks there, though. Which doesn't look at all like the color here and is so much deeper than the color there. So if you're looking for true to color, this is not really going to work for you unless you learn what the true to color is. But honestly, every time I've used these, I've gotten a different color combo based on what I've done it with or how much water I've used. So look at how that changed everything by just adding the slightest bit of that blue. I don't really have mud anymore. I do over here, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of water just to show you. And kind of like alcohol inks, you can move this around based on the direction of your water. So you can cover the whole thing. Again, I'm just doing this so that you see it. If you want a watercolory look, then you're gonna go back to the other one that we did first. It's still drying, but you can see it has a beautiful watercolor effect with such pretty shimmer. And it's more delicate shimmer than a Wink of Stella. So it kind of just looks so pretty. So now you can leave this be. You can take your heat gun to it. Remember, don't do that directly on your table. You can move it around or not. I liked it better before I picked it up, but that's okay. It kind of gives you the idea. So let me move on to a different one then. Sorry for my arm. Let me do, I haven't opened these yet. Let me do the flat one. Because I'm not sure that you can see the shimmer on the other. But hopefully in a side-by-side later, you will. So the flat is just that it means no shimmer, no glitter in it. So let's see if these look the same. I always put these back in here. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use that right there. Try not to get it on my hand, but that didn't work. Again, the cover is, maybe a little closer. The cover, more red, almost like a Christmassy red, right? Like a deep red. Whereas this kind of like a wine red, like darker. So let's try to make a row. All right, so I'm going to use that one. Now again, flat, so it is not going to be shimmery. This is chartreuse, so it's like almost like a neon greenish. And yet look how yellow it looks. Look at that cap compared to the, right? And this is not a dig at the company by any means. I just want you to know that, you know, when you look at it on the jar and when you look at it on the label, it's not going to be the same necessarily as what you're going to get on your paper. How about we try some blue? This looks like a nice, like, it's actually called denim blue. But it looks gray. That's the blue, but it looks kind of gray. And when you put it down, it looks kind of black. Now it is a powder again, so it will go everywhere, and you definitely, I have glitter all over my fingers. Look at that. That's the blue, right? It looked gray coming out. Do you see the pink? I'm gonna try to lower this and hope for the best here. Do you see the pink coming out? You've got some green in there. You've got what looks like some gray in there, and that's from something that says this. Now, it's not shimmery, but those are the colors. Now, this one that says chartreuse, which probably looks kind of like the tablecloth. You see that? Now, that blue spilled over, but the pink didn't. The green didn't. You see those colors in there? So there's so many of the colors. Now, this was the red wine. Look at how pink that looks. Now here's what the cap looks like. So it is kind of true to the cap with just a little water. But if you look close, you can see some brown in it, some darker spots. And I think that that's what gives it kind of its little magic, because it has just all these great colors that go well together. Now, if you like a textured look, then you wouldn't do any more water. You'd add more powder, but not more water, because you have kind of a bumpy look. I don't know if you can see that there. Whereas I took it away here in the blue by adding more water. So if you like a pebbly kind of look like this, then you're going to add powder, but not water. You just add a little bit of water as you go. If you want it to all kind of mesh together, meld together, and be like watercolory, then you're going to add lots of water like we did over here to make them all sort of blend together. Now, I would still probably blend these together, but I'm going very easy on my water. Now there's a whole big blob here. Maybe I want to hold this down. Now you can, I'm sure you know the tricks, right? You can tape it down with washi tape and leave it flat like that and make it dry. Of course, then you'd have a border around that you'd have to trim, but at 5.5 by 8.5, you'd probably be trimming anyway, unless it's a slim line. You may want the whole height, but you could also stick it on any of those new mats, like Sizzix has one, Waffle Flower has, Brutus Monroe has, I think Misty has, just the sticky mat for this kind of thing. I don't know how well that they would clean up, but you see, like I have all those dots, so, and I'm pressing really lightly this time on the water. I'm always heavy-handed. So you can see how intense the colors really are. But again, it's pretty, no shimmer. If you like shimmer, then don't get the flat. The flat is not for you. I am definitely putting in my order for one of the glitzy pack because I don't have that. The glitzy pack is a metallic pack. So it's got like silvers, gold, rose gold, and that's kind of my thing. So we have these two. I'm gonna put the camera up. So we have these two different things, one shimmer, one not, right? Two different color sets though. Lots more water, less water, more powder, less powder. And the first one we did with just one color. I wonder in that light though, if you can well, that's not what I wanted to do. I hope that you can see the shimmer in that water that's moving. That's what I'm trying to get, but I can't see or not. But it's so delicate and just so subtle when it dries. It's not like an in-your-face kind of deal. It is certainly not as thick as a Wink of Stella. It's not going to be that present. It's just going to be very subtle in the background. So you can't really, well, you can kind of see it here. But again, this paper's pretty wet. And in here, there would be none. So now that you've seen it this way, let me add more water to it, so we can just see what it's like when it blends. Now, these are all meant to kind of blend together, but it doesn't mean that they'll all go together. You gotta know your color combos a little bit there and what makes mud, and that's usually trial and error, but notice I'm adding lots and lots of water. Now, I did add a lot more color to this, which is why the colors are so much more vibrant than the other two panels. The others would be shimmery. This is not. Let me put this down here for you so you might get a better look. But these are just those three colors blended together. And nothing really looks like mud because I didn't put anything together that goes muddy. Now, I would probably heat set this before I dabbed it with a paper towel because I wouldn't want to pick up any of the color. So I try to heat set it first. I would let it sit for a while though before I try to pick it up. Maybe let some of that water go off the edges, and maybe that's where I would be putting my paper towels. But look at how beautiful this is. And so many different colors that are mixed in. Now remember, this blue, yes, okay, so we have some here, but look at how you get just those little traces of blue. You have little traces of other colors in it. So I love them. I think that they're great. It took me a while to get used to them, I will admit. Now, let me grab a paper towel. Sorry, I don't know how to pause a video, and I should have brought some with me, but I did not. Okay, so let's see what happens. Here's my paper towel. Look at all the color it picked up. And there's what's left on my panel. Now it still looks very nice, but I feel like I took away the vibrancy of it, which doesn't mean it wouldn't dry like this. I mean, it still might dry a little dull. So then maybe what I do after it's dry is I start again. I might not though, because I might like the way this looks and I wouldn't want to ruin it. But you do still have that option. So, but look how pretty that panel is. And again, you can use this as the background of a card, just like you would for alcohol inks. You can die cut it. You can use it for embellishments. You can die cut a frame for a card for it. You can make a shaker card out of it. You can do anything with this that you would any other paper that you create. Let me dry this off a little bit. I think you got the idea. So that one was the flat, the Mad Hatter. We used Autumn Leaves in class, which is this one. We also used the Jingle Bells in class. And the Jingle Bells, you can see the variety of them on the class samples, and as people post their cards, you'll be able to see. I used the red, the green, and the gold on it, and I think most people did as well. There's one that almost looks black. It's in the forest. It's like an evergreen, but it's very dark. And then there's a silver one that, again, is kind of dark and more gray that wasn't really my kind of thing, but it does look nice if you're going for a darker theme. The autumn ones, though, look at these. Talk about some pretty fall things. So this is the brown in that one, but again, it's shimmery, right? But it's copper, but it really looks copper here as opposed to the lid. It's more red in the jar. So again, I'm just going to take a very little bit. Let's just make, I'm getting it all over the table. I'm actually surprised that the heat duct isn't blowing it everywhere. I was using gilding flakes the other day and I breathed a little too hard, and that was the end of those. I'm going to use this teal, but look at this. This is the teal. Look how green it looks. Looks nothing like that. Just going to wipe that off. And again, I'm going a little heavier with the pad. This may not look heavy to you, because it's just literally the tip of my brush. Can you see how little that is? Sorry, again, I have to bend all the way down to see the camera because I want it close there. And then I'm gonna use some of this red, but again, it's very deep in the jar and it's far more red on the label. And then I'm going to use the green. Again, so annoying that I'm not on camera. The label green, the inside, that looks a little chartreuse, and nope, I did not mix them up. So again, just a little bit on the end of my brush. I'm closing them back up. I'm actually going to put them away. So you see my line here, right? Is that in the camera? I'm like face down underneath, almost with my face in the Magicals. So that's all we have, right? These little lines. Let's start with a little water. With the brown, that's not from my brush. That blue up there. So look at the different colors that you get from those 4 colors, right? Now, yes, some of it's going to be some kind of blow from, the rest of it, and it's a powder, but some of it isn't. There are different colors in here. So now if I want to add more water to kind of move them around together, you really see the colors that are in, and that's why I did it in a row. So you can really see the colors that are in there. And I think that these are kind of beautiful fall colors. I know the blue we don't think of with fall, but it's got just a nice kind of hint to it that just makes it so much nicer. Now, if I really wanted to do fall, I would add, I think, maybe more brown and maybe more of the green down here, just because those are more fall. But I love that teal in this set because, like I said, I would not normally think about teal with this. Just for the interest of, so you see how much color comes up. So they're pigment powders. They work like any other kind of powder. Now look, that almost looks watercolory as opposed to the very deep color on the paper towel. That looks like a watercolor. So now maybe I do want to add more brown. So I'll just grab the brown real quick because it's on the top. So I didn't really heat set that, so I'm not going to touch my brush to it. But I did take the water off it. And the best part about these, I'm spilling a little on the table, but the best part about these is that you use so little of them that there's really so much in the jar, so you have lots to practice and play with. So if you don't like one, dry it off, try another color on top of it. Now, I hope you can see the shimmer of that. Move it around if you want it. You want to see what it, dry it off. The brown changed the color completely, but notice when I did that, the brown also came off a lot. So trial and error with these. So shimmer versus flat. I'm sorry for the lighting. Shimmer versus flat. More color, less color. Less water, more water. Because we still towel dried this, but because we had less water and a lot more powder, look at the intensity. Also, there isn't a shimmer here, which is going to sometimes lead, I'm noticing that the shimmers go a little bit lighter in color, even though I used a little less of them. They're not as vibrant as the flat. I'm not sure if that's a thing, but it's something that I'm just noticing as I'm doing this. So I would take a look at the website. If you're interested in them, have Christina place your order. She's going to do a group order and do that. I think it's by Monday. You'll have to check the post there and arrange payment with her. I'm sure you have to pay in advance. So arrange payment with her. If you have any questions, go ahead and pop them wherever this ends up showing so that I can answer them for you when I see your questions. I hope this helps with Magicals. I had so much fun with them. We did the class this month on them, but I'm going to do them again with a fancy class because I love them and everybody else loved them too. So stay tuned for another Magicals class. Hope this was helpful, everyone.